This married couple bring humor to everything that they talk about. They are an amazing couple that live in Houston, Texas. They do international cruises and conferences across the United States, bringing humor and candid conversation about marriages. They have a great story of how they've come from dysfunctional to an impactful ministry. They are certified marriage mentors, and they are here to talk with us today on Live with Tricia. Join us.
Welcome to Season 2, Laugh Your Past Off. Live with Tricia is an innovative platform that's been recorded before a live online studio audience. As a faith-based award-winning actor, director, author, and entrepreneur, Tricia Harmon inspires, listens, and joins the larger discussion. Get ready to engage for the next 30-ish minutes in innovative and authentic conversation with award-winning and renowned comedians from around the country, offering inspirational perspective and purpose as together we learn how to laugh our past off.
Welcome, Richard and Sheri Bright. It's so good to have you here.
I'm so glad that we get to see your face and that we got to do this over again after everything that happened.
I know.
Man, what an unfortunate event that happened to you on the day of your daughter's wedding, and to be able to come back and do this again, what an honor. And we're thankful that you guys made it through that, and that, man, God has a plan for us, right?
That's right. He does. And he can transform any adversity into our most valuable asset. And me getting to spend more time with you is a real asset for me. So thanks for taking time. You know, we tried the live on Facebook. We tried a couple other things. And you know what? We just go back to what we know. And this platform works really, really well. So I'm just really excited to not just talk about what we already talked about, but now kind of put it into relevant, current, what's going on right now in the world and in marriage specifically, and how you are seeing it impact your marriage as well as those around you, whether it's in your church or the conferences that you were doing just as this was starting to gear up. So let me just set the stage here and ask you to share a little bit about your background as individuals before you got married, and what brought you to this point of an impactful ministry.
Well, to be brutally honest and transparent, we were coming out of a divorce. I wasn't even actually divorced. I was just weeks separated from my ex-wife, but I knew that that was the route I was going, because unfortunately I wasn't in church. I wasn't doing the things that I was supposed to be doing, and I thought divorce was the answer. When we don't know, we think divorce is the answer. I just can't live with you anymore. Divorce is the answer. Yeah. And what is working through it is actually, you know, going to church, loving God, serving your spouse. I was in a bad place. She was in a bad place. And then we ended up living together. And
yeah. So I was married twice before. Richard was.
What?
I wasn't legally divorced either. And so here we meet each other. And, you know, it's just that thing when you first meet someone. Today we were watching some little clip of a reality show, and it was called Love is Blind. And it was these couples that are only together for a couple of days. And they were just in love. And they were just, oh my gosh, she gets me, and it's my soulmate, and I feel like I don't even have issues, and we were laughing going, yeah, that's because all your issues went away just because you fell in love, because that's what it felt like for us. It felt like all of our issues were just, we couldn't even think of them right then. Everything, all of our baggage was just kind of floating off into the sunset, and it was just me and you, boo.
right.
And you know, little did we know, we were dragging all this invisible baggage into this relationship 2 weeks after we knew each other. I had a 17-year-old daughter. He had a 5 and a 7-year-old children. And here we are going to move in together 2 weeks later and make this work because we were soulmates. Turns out we were more like cellmates.
Did you just see what I did?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's a miracle.
I did a whoa.
It's a miracle that we're right here. It's a miracle.
So how'd that work out for you?
Oh my gosh. At first it was great.
Yeah.
At first it was just like, oh she gets me, finally my prayers are being answered. Right. And you don't think, like, I really didn't have all those problems before, you know? See, you get it. Well, eventually all those unresolved issues and problems that we have had throughout our childhood and everything that we brought up to being an adult are sometimes pressed down. So now they're all starting to come back up. The life, you know, the newness is wearing off, and now we're back to, you know, here's old Richard starting to manifest. And
well, I think our honeymoon stage was really quick because, you know, people sometimes date for a while. They've got that 9 to 18 months or 18 to 36 months, whatever they say the honeymoon lasts, the honeymoon feeling. But ours kind of didn't last that long. It lasted for a few months, but because we were living together, and then all of a sudden his kids were with us all the time, and then all these things were happening, and real life started to set in, and we realized, wow, you don't have any money either, you're broke too, you know. Oh, you're not only broke, you're broken, you know. And then you had all this stuff, and you had to go for that. I thought you were cool with that. I thought you were my boo, you know. And all of a sudden I was like, no, we can't play boyfriend and girlfriend anymore. Like, we're grown people. Like, we have to have rules and regulations, and there has to be a schedule and a routine. And boy, it just like the rubber hit the road just a couple of months into it.
Yeah.
Sheri goes, you know, it doesn't even sound right saying boyfriend and girlfriend. We're in our late 30s. You know, that's for
we were in our 40s.
When you're in your 20s, you know, you have a boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yes, and I was like, yeah, I can't tell people I have a boyfriend. I was like 41 years old, you know, I was 40, you were 39, right? I was 40. And I was like, how in the world do we tell people this is my boyfriend? I said, so we at least need to say fiance, even though we had pinky promised never to get married. So, but we were just going to tell people fiance, get people off our backs, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So here you are. Are you going to church? Where is faith and Christ in your relationships? Like, back then.
Church, what was that?
So,
oh, no, I'm sorry. I was actually the CEO of church. Christmas, Easter, and other holidays. So,
yes.
That's about the extent of my church life, truthfully.
I mean, I grew up going to church. My dad was an elder in the church, but we went to the Episcopal church, and it was more, we went to church on Sundays, but we didn't really read the word or anything. My parents didn't really teach us that. We said our prayers at night, but I didn't understand a relationship with God. I had a reverent fear of him, and a good reverent fear of him, but I didn't know I could go to him like that, Daddy God. I always just thought he was Father God, you know. And Richard was raised Catholic, but they just went basically on, like you said, special occasions. And I wanted to go to church. I'd raised my daughter going to church, and I wanted to take Richard to church, but he didn't want to go. And so he said, I don't like preachers, big cars, and all this stuff. So I was watching Joel Osteen on TV for like a year, and I got Richard to go with me one Sunday.
You know, and I was texting a guy I saw gave his life to Christ just the other day, and it reminded me of me when I was in my early 20s. You know, I didn't want a relationship with Jesus. I didn't want a relationship with God. And the reason I didn't is because I didn't know who he was, right? And I didn't know the love that he would give me and share with me and show me, and the healing that he would bring to my soul. I thought of him, and this is the way I was raised, as somebody who was an angry God who was just looking up, ready to throw fire bolts of death down on you whenever you messed up, because that's what my mom had taught me. You know, she goes, Mijito, every time you sin and every time you make a mistake, it makes God very angry with you, and he's watching you. So as the more mistakes start to compile, then my relationship got further and further away from God, because I just assumed that
condemnation.
Yeah, and he hated me. I was going to hell, and you know,
he just felt like he would tell me, I've already lost. Like I've done so much bad stuff. There's no hope for me.
You know, he'll never forgive me. He'll never love me. That's you know, and so that's, as an adult at 39 years old, that's what I believed. You know, and so when I went to church, I was ready to hear, well, Richard, what your problem is you're a sinner. You're really, really bad. You don't read your Bible enough. You don't know enough scripture, and that's your problem. Because that is what I've been heard. That's what I've been told my whole life. But man, when I actually went to the church where they just welcomed me and they loved on me and they were just thankful that I was there, and God revealed himself to me, just he and I. You know, I saw God through other people, through other people's faith. I started to learn who God and who Jesus was. And then as I started to want to have a relationship with, with Father God, man, it made things so much different. Then it was all like, wow, you mean I can just go straight to him? And, we were able to work through some stuff.
I was going to say, one of the reasons too that we want to be super transparent why we didn't want to go to church was because we didn't want God messing with our lifestyle. Like, we liked being able to, we liked to party. So, we were partying on the weekends, and we were like, we're not going to church people because they don't want to have fun. They're all boring.
Weren't you partying or kind of recovering from a party the day that you did come to Christ?
Kind
I don't know
of.
if that was that particular Sunday, but we went to church a lot of times, partying for, Friday night, Saturday night, stay up two or 3 days partying, and then go to church on Sunday because we need to go repent,
I did get baptized and had a case of beer iced down, and we were going fishing as soon as I got done. So I'm like, come on, Pastor, dunk me and make sure you got the waders on because the water's going to get really hot, and then I got to go,
Oh, I love it. You know what? It's just a beautiful picture that God really does meet us where we are. And, I love that scripture, especially as this is the day in between Good Friday and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. We are on Saturday, the day before Easter, recording this and realizing that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And that means while we are yet entrenched and in bondage to our sin, having no desire to turn from it, absolutely embracing and loving our sin, he still died for us. And he reaches down low and he stoops down and he draws something in the sand and he forgives. And just the lowliness and the stooping down of Christ to meet us where we're at, rather than expecting us to get our life cleaned up and to measure up to him, is a beautiful, beautiful picture right now as we celebrate Easter. Because Richard, what you just shared is you didn't have your life all together. You didn't take a bath before you got baptized. You got baptized out of obedience because you wanted to profess your faith, and then it becomes that authentic relationship that just grows. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being so transparent, because you know what, not every Pollyannish testimony can touch somebody. And I'm not saying that, thank God there are a lot of people who have not gone to the nth degree of depravity and have had to, go through all of that baggage in order to have a testimony. A lot of people can live their life for Christ and honor their parents. I wasn't one of them. I was a rebel. I defied and disrespected and disobeyed. And like you, Richard, I, did have a religion, but I didn't have the relationship. And I'm really thankful that, I have kids who do have a very pure and clean, wholesome lifestyle, because they just honored the Lord and they honored their parents. And that doesn't mean that theirs is not validated any more than yours. It's just that we are all individual, and that's how personal that relationship is Christ meets us in our need, to the deepest need that we have represented. So thank you for sharing that.
I think too, having that patience with someone that maybe not everybody, like you said, everyone that comes to Christ, some people maybe are just, everything good was good in their life and it was pure and they don't have a lot of stuff, but for us, God met us where we were, but he also has had patience, and we've had to have patience with each other, that we have got to at a different level. So when I thought he wasn't going fast enough, I was like, we've given our life to the Lord, you got baptized, like we got to stop everything in our life, and we can't live that old life anymore. And I really just thought we were going to be delivered from it like that, and it was going to go on, but that's not how it worked out for us. Like for us, it's been a process. It's been years of a process and years of wanting to get divorced, and I mean, just coming to the brink of things being horrible. But we just kept going. We kept going to church. And just to have, I guess, faith in people, to know, and just to keep praying that God's working it out in his timing. We can't always see it ourselves, and that's hard, because I wanted to give up on Richard so many times. I'm sure he wanted to give up on me, but we just kept trying, kept stepping. We stayed in community. We kept, just little by little. And then I look up one day, we wake up, and how is this 17 years later? Our life is, if you had told us a glimpse of what our life would look like right now, then we would have just laughed at you.
Because we hear right now, one of our friends is an attorney, and she has attorney friends who are divorce attorneys, and the divorce attorneys right now almost don't have any more time because they are inundated with people that want to get a divorce right now, more so than ever because of the coronavirus, right? And people are being confined. This quarantine and confinement is bringing stuff out that normally they could bypass by just being busy in life, you know?
Yeah.
And I just think about it, what a great time this is between Good Friday and Easter Sunday, because I see the quarantine virus. Satan is just so happy right now and thinks that he has won, but little does he know the price has already been paid. We've already got the victory. The blood of Christ, when he rose, just like I know that when this coronavirus is over, that, man, everything that Satan has taken away from people, God is going to restore double. And he's going to give us double for our trouble. And he's going to show us why we had to go through this. And I know that this is not from God, but he's going to get us through it just like he's gotten us through everything else. Just when Sheri and I gave our life to Christ, her mother and father, 2 sisters, and a brother got sick and died, all within 3 years, right? So just as we think, man, we've given our life to Christ, it's going to work out, this is going to be it, then this tragedy all happens in life. Then we make it through that, and we're thinking, man, this is going good. Bookings are starting to happen. We're starting to get out there. We're writing a book. Our house floods, right? We have to go live with some other people. Because of that, then all of a sudden now 2020 is going to be everybody's year, and this is going to be
2020 vision.
Man, 2020 vision. The churches are on fire.
Your
the
vision
churches.
boards are 2020
oh my gosh,
vision,
everything's just going. The church is just growing, and then all of a sudden the coronavirus hits. And I just know that that was an attack from Satan, like nothing that has ever this earth has ever seen since we've been alive. 2,000 years ago, yeah. But now this is what Satan has done now. So we're just extremely excited for the good news that's coming, because right now churches are growing online like never before. People are coming to Christ like never before.
People are hungry.
People are hungry. So we just have to teach them that, you know what, this is years and years and years of trauma, of brokenness, of dysfunction, of hurt and pain that we have brought into life, that we don't know how to process. And the way that we think we need to process is broken. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having these issues right now, you know? Yeah, so, you know.
That's the beauty of it. And that's why I'm so excited that we're doing this even again, because, you know, we already recorded this, but it happened before the fire, and then I lost my computer, and, you know, there were editorial things, and yet here we are again with better perspective and a whole lot more content to be able to talk about, because this is the beautiful picture of how God turns messes into miracles. And, you know, marriages may have been messy before this, but they may have gotten a whole lot messier because now they're forced to, you know, I mean, my biggest concern, in all honesty, are dysfunctional marriages with abuse and domestic violence going on, being forced to cohabitate. And where is the escape? Where's the protection? You know, and so what can you say? And obviously that's not across the board, and that's not going to be the norm. Those are exceptions, but nonetheless, they're just as serious and need to be validated and talked to. But what do you tell that couple who now are spending 24/7 together, and, you know, maybe not in a tight quarter like a, you know, 20-foot, I don't know how big this trailer is, this camper is, but this RV is pretty small in comparison to what most people's homes are. So at least in homes, somebody can walk across the house and go slam a door in another room and get away from you. But what do you tell marriages that need they need the tools, they need the understanding of, how do we use this? How do we use this disruption in our life and this demand of 24/7 stay at home, stay safe order to work on us? What do you say to them?
You know, what we have learned, and we talk about this every morning, because of what the preparation that we did years ago by talking and praying every morning, it's easier for us to communicate and talk because we've been doing it now for a while. We talk about, if we hadn't been doing this for a while, how hard it would be right now to communicate and talk, because we haven't been able to get some of that resentment out and be able to talk and work through it. So because we're not able to do that, we're trying to do it now. And if we were doing it now like we did 2 years ago or 3 years ago, there was a lot of anger that bubbled up from that. There was a lot of frustration that bubbled up from that because we had to work through it. But this is the perfect time to work through those issues. And so the way I would talk to a couple is, hey, you've got to be able to communicate and communicate effectively. And you have to understand that we're going to have grace, and more grace with one another, especially in these confined. And so just talking to you, Tricia, has brought it into perspective for Sheri and I, because like when I'm in the kitchen, now she's in the kitchen too, or we're both in the bedroom at the same time, or we're just like, oh, hey, you know, and we're trying not to be like, go ahead. Yeah, no, I can get to the trash can anytime. And then you're like, we're in an RV, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's even smaller than our small house. So I can see where the grace has to be just poured out.
Well, and I think that maybe this is a good time for couples to say, you know what, maybe this is the thing. Maybe this is a God thing. You know, maybe God is allowing us, maybe this is an answer to prayer, that being able to not be so busy, you know, to spend some time with your kids, people are looking at this so negatively. And I'm thinking, this is like a blessing. Like, look at this as, yes, maybe you have a lot of resentment with that person that you haven't been getting along with, but maybe this is a time to call a truce. You know, maybe I'm not saying sweep stuff under the rug and not deal with your big issues, but maybe it's not the time to deal with your major issues. But to be able to just talk about some little stuff and to just start being kind and to give to each other something that you're able to give. Maybe make breakfast for the other person, you know, maybe go out and mow the grass, you know, I don't know, but things that you can do, that just a little bit that you can give that other person just to love them. But I think calling a truce right now is, otherwise you're just gonna, people are gonna come out of this wanting to be like, I'm done.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting that as you're sharing, I'm thinking of all the tools that we have. You know, we are without excuse in America for sure, because we have so many resources available online than any other nation that I know of, you know, that's open aired and available. And so, you know, when you think about how to learn the love language of your spouse and picking up a 5 love language book or a personality book, or how to, you know, make friends and influence people, you know, Zig Ziglar. There are so many great authors and resources out there. One of the things that I've done is I wrote a book called Sand to Pearls, and it's navigating through the sabotaging and negative dialogue, that acrostic, SAND. Navigating through the sabotaging and negative dialogue stuck between your ears. And number one, it helps you take every thought captive. And how do you, you know, recognize, aha, this is not of God? And so I take you through that. That's available online. Another book is The Power of Forgiveness, reclaiming your power through forgiveness, being able to go through the 5-fold principles of what biblical forgiveness looks like. We also have an online small group that we are doing in an extension of our church time too. So there's another idea, and I'm sure you guys have some other tools that maybe you could recommend right now, so that not only are we working on it individually, but we can work on it corporately too. We can associate and tribe in a maybe bigger arena, especially through Facebook groups or other online apps that we have, whether it's Google Hangouts or Zoom or whatever.
There's so many good resources. Like you said, there's so many good resources out there. You know, Marriage Today, Jimmy Evans, he has the best, I would say, sound biblical advice out there. He has lots of videos. Richard and I have a library of videos on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, and we also have our YouTube. We put them on YouTube, and we have probably about almost 60 videos about marriage. And the first 50 videos have been just about, you know, marriage, about your love language in your normal life. But the last 5 or 6 weeks, we've been doing them Corona style, because the stuff that we typically talk about and the tools that we give aren't relevant right now. We can't tell you to go out on a date night, because you can't go out on a date night, but you can go on a picnic in your backyard.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we have to be able to talk to what's happening right now to get people through this time. But you can go back and we have a lot of videos. And if you actually, if the viewers will text on their phone, they can text Bright, which is our last name, BRIGHT, to the number 66866. It will link them to us, and we'll send them videos, and they can get our whole library of videos that way.
Say that one more time, and I'll make sure I put that in the show notes before I air this.
It's Bright. Text the word Bright to the number 66866. Push send, and that's all I got to do, and it will contact us, and then we'll contact them. We'll just send them.
Awesome.
We're not going to bombard them with stuff. We're just going to send them, you know, one of our latest videos, and then a link to subscribe to videos if they want to. They can subscribe to YouTube.
You know, Tricia, we want to give people hope, because we were that couple so angry at each other, and so we couldn't even hear nice things from one another because we were so eat up with just resentment and frustration and with anger on both parts, and wanted to be right. Okay. And if we can make it, and we've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other couples in the same predicament that were on the verge of divorce, that was their next option, make it, and they're more happy and more in love now than ever before. They started doing the wrong things and started to doing the right things. When you said something about Zig Ziglar, there was something that he said that was very profound to me. He said that if you marry the right person and treat them wrong, they become the wrong person. But you could actually marry the wrong person and treat them right, and they become the right person. So it's all about how we treat each other. And so much of this is bound in emotion and emotional baggage, that it's the way we see things, the way we feel things, the way we express things, that we're not able to get out because we've been doing it wrong for so long. But it was the way we were taught, and it seems right and natural to us. So if there's a couple out there who's really struggling and they're on the verge of divorce, it hasn't been working, stop doing those things that you're doing and start doing some things that you haven't been doing, because it's those little things that we change that make huge differences. We're expecting to try to make, sometimes in our natural mind, we think we got to make huge changes to make huge differences. And it's just those little differences that we have to do. And so what Sheri was saying is, just what percentage of 1 to 100 can you give your spouse? I can only give you, cheerfully, I can only give you 1% of my day. Then give them 100% for that 1% of that day.
Awesome.
You know,
That's all you've got left, right? We just finished editing a book today that we're about to put out, and it's called Really Your Marriage Can't Get Better. And it's all about giving and receiving. And that's it. Because some people are saying, well, but I have nothing left to give him or her anymore. Like, I'm done. We said that so many times, but we still, you know, we're able to give, just like you said, whatever you're able to give cheerfully, because God loves a cheerful giver. And so it's, what are you able to give cheerfully to that person? And God blesses that, you know, he blesses that thing. And it might seem like a little tiny seed, but every time you put a little seed in, you're going to get a little bit of a, you know, a harvest. And then little by little, the seeds get bigger, and the bigger the crop goes, and the harvest comes.
What's the name of that book again, Sheri? Really,
Your Marriage Can Get Better.
And if people want to pre-order that, is there somewhere they can go to pre-order?
On Amazon, the illustrator is doing the front cover right now. It's super exciting.
So excited.
Yeah, we're super excited. So, but if they text Bright to 66866, we'll be sending out the pre-order link and all that when that's available.
Perfect.
Yes.
So let me ask you, can you give us one step? So, you know, when you're looking at your marriage, and if we were to rate our marriage between 1 and 10, and we're at a 3, and we'd love to see it at a 10, but like you said, Richard, maybe that's impractical and a little bit too much to go seven steps in one breath or one day. So how do we move from a 3 to a 3.5 or a 4? What are some beginning steps couples can do during this self-isolation quarantine time period, just to start moving the needle?
Do you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I would say, how does your spouse feel loved? You know, because we could be doing all these things for our spouse. Maybe you're picking up after them, you're cooking for them, you're cleaning for them, and all your spouse really wants is just a back rub, you know, before they go to sleep. Or, you know, we need to know what how they feel loved. So we learned about the 5 love languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. That's a great resource to get. But you probably know that without even reading that book, is how does your spouse feel loved? Do they like you to compliment? Do they like words of affirmation? Do they like you to give them things? Do they like physical touch? Is it acts of service? What's the other one?
Quality time.
Quality time. Is it they want you to sit and watch a movie with them? But so what can you give them? What small thing can you give them? Like he was just saying, like just even if it's that 1%, but make sure as you're speaking to them, because you're like, well, I made you dinner. And he's like, well, really, I just wanted you to come sit by me. So make sure we're doing what that is that person loves, but just whatever you can give cheerfully, whatever percentage that is.
You know, I would also say this too, and I think you might agree with me on this. Forgiveness is huge. So I think sometimes we need to start off a conversation with a couple who is having serious difficulty with, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that our marriage is the way that it is right now. I'm sorry that our children are seeing this. Our children shouldn't see this. We shouldn't feel like this. I'm sorry that we've gotten to this point. What could we do? What would you like to see? If our marriage is a 1 right now, what one thing could I do? And here's where this is the slippery slope. What one thing could I do to improve this marriage? What would you like to see from me? And just start with one thing. Well, you know what? I would like for you to, when you speak to me, speak, because Sheri tells me this to this day, just speak kindly to me, because I'm very animated. And I'm like,
to the point. And so am I, but sometimes I'm like, but I know my heart. I know my heart, and my heart isn't coming with rage. That's just the way I'm talking. And she goes, can you speak nicely to me? And I'm like, I was speaking nicely to you, because I know in my heart that I wasn't coming, there wasn't anger coming out. That's just the way I was talking. But when she says that, then I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Okay, I'll do better next time. And we have to get on an even ground somewhere. Well, and I think if you open that can of worms with your spouse and say, what can I do for you? What can I do to make you feel loved? Or what can I do to make things better? It's very easy to get defensive as soon as they say it. And then that person jumps in and goes, well, the reason that I don't do this, but the rule to that game is you only can say thank you. Yeah. You can say thank you, and you don't talk about it for 30 minutes. You got to give it like a 30-minute, you go think about what they're saying, because we just say things that we can't take back. And we always want to defend. We always want to
rationalize, justify, defend. Yeah. You are so spot on. This is one rule that we've done in conjunction, like exactly what you're talking about. And you can do this with kids. It's amazing how kids want to be validated and affirmed and acknowledged in the conversation of reconciliation and restoration of relationships. When you say, and you put yourself out there, and it really is a matter, like what you said, Sheri, giving up your right to be right, giving up your right to even be heard after you, and understood. There are so many areas, and I'm getting us off on a little tangent, but that exercise that we have done is, I know that something is wrong between us. I know that I have damaged our relationship. How have I offended you, or how have I hurt you? And then stop.
That's really
and
good.
Open up your heart, open up your ears, and just listen. And then when they tell you, I have we call them roundtable sessions, but where we have said, the only thing that you can say is, thank you, I appreciate you sharing that. Is there anything else? Because usually the first thing that they share isn't really the bottom line. They're just testing the ground to see if they're going to have it flung back in their face and you're going to use it against them, or it's going to, so if there's not that relationship trust level, you have to establish it. So to just ask that one question, and like you said, Richard, if there was one thing that I could do to improve our relationship or our marriage, what would it be? And let them share, and then say, thank you. Is there anything else? I really value that. And then write it down. Let them see that you're taking it seriously. And then say, I really appreciate you trusting me enough to share that. And then, like you said, Sheri, go off. Go spend some time with the Lord. It's not this linear thing. It's this this vertical, it's this relationship, because if your heart is not right with the Lord in receiving that, because you're probably like that with the Lord too, you know what I'm saying? It's like our relationships with the Lord really are deflected into our relationships with others. So if you're not listening to the Lord, if you're not talking and thinking kindly towards the Lord about the circumstances in your life, if you're griping and murmuring and complaining in your heart to the Lord, that's really what you're doing across the board in relationships too. So I love that you shared that.
We always say, if this isn't right, this will never be right.
That's
like
right.
You got to work on this. And we didn't want to hear that, because I'm like, no, Richard's the problem. You know, no, Sheri's evil. But it wasn't. It was when our relationship with God gets right, and we can tell when it's off. When this is off, we're off.
Yeah.
You know, and it's easy
And
to.
so much pride that you can't say I'm sorry. So much pride that you can't take responsibility for yourself. That's where we started to grow. When that started to happen, Tricia, I mean, this is just God's honest truth. If we could go from having divorce cards in our wallets because we're ready to get divorced, because, you know, Jimmy Evans says divorce is a symptom of a problem, it's not going to fix the problem.
Right.
We're still, once we get divorced, we're still going to have the problem and then some. But to go from having ready to divorce to having a marriage ministry, that was only God.
Yes.
And we want to help people and give people hope that, man, you could do it too. But man, we had to put down every way of learning that we learned, everything that we thought was right, that was wrong, and do it the way God wanted it to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you get a mission for your, when it becomes not just this person that you're constantly arguing with or trying to work things out, when you put your eyes put your eyes on God, and then you guys together start looking forward, God starts giving you, and he starts giving you the desires of your heart. And we always thought giving you the desires of your heart meant what we wanted. Oh, we want a car, or we want a nice car. He was giving desires we didn't even know we had, and we didn't know we could go do stand-up comedy on stage. Like it's a miracle. It really is a miracle, because it's not anything we signed up for. It's not something we tried to do. We just, as we told our story, bad decisions, made funny stories, people started laughing and started helping later. Yeah, they're later.
It was relatable later. Yeah.
It helps people to heal, because they realize that they're not the only ones. And they're like, wow, y'all went through, and this is just kind of the PG version of what we went through. I mean, we had drugs, alcohol, pornography, you name it, we've been through it. And, but we can laugh about it now, because when you're healed from it, you can laugh about it, not like you're just looking at it and just in a blowing it off type of way, but just in a joyful way. Like, God, we're not letting the enemy steal one more second of our life from what he's already sold. Like, we know what's in front of us. Just look at us trying to do this video with you. We did it one time, then your house blew up, all that happened. We tried to go online a few times, something happened. Today we're finally, you know,
Satan doesn't like
marriage. He doesn't want us to talk.
We are tenaciously triumphant. Yeah. Oh, you guys, this was such a blessing. Thank you. I know we could talk, and actually we did have 2 episodes planned the first time, so I know we could pack in so much more, but I really think that for such a time as this, what you've shared is so powerful, and it's going to have a huge influence and impact on marriages across the globe and anybody who tunes in. So bless your hearts. Thank you for giving of your time. Will you share with us, you know, how are you doing your ministry from home now? How are you reaching out and still being able to share the Brights ministry?
We have, it's called Quarantine's Got Talent.
Yeah, Richard is now he is a keto chef all of a sudden. He's actually started doing videos. He hasn't even edited them yet, but he started doing some how-to videos about keto. But for our ministry, we're doing our Facebook lives every week. We do marriage videos. We've had other ministries reach out, like how you have, that have asked us to do stuff for them. We got our book finished, so that was a good thing. You know,
we haven't slowed down.
No,
okay,
we haven't slowed down.
It's like
People keep telling us how bored they are. We're like, are you kidding me? Like, now learn how to juggle. I don't know. Watch a YouTube video.
Like, do you know how to edit? Because I could use you.
Here we go.
People that are bored. We want to come out of this. This is how we look at it. People are going to either come out of this going, wow, what just happened? Or they're going to come out of this going, okay, Lord, thank you for that time. Like, that's how we're looking at it. Like, it's a blessing to us. Yes, some parts of it suck, but it's a blessing. Like, we are getting to get things done and accomplish that we never would have done on the busy schedules that we have. We were traveling all the time. Things were happening. So it's really, we're looking at it as a blessing.
That's awesome. You know, it just makes me think of what Paul said, whatever circumstance I'm in, I've learned how to be content. And if we can't learn how to be content in the stillness of life, then the busyness of life is actually stealing our productivity. It's just.
I saw someone do a Facebook, you know, they put a question out there that said, if you could be anywhere, they're all just so, you know, melancholy about where they can't be right now. Where would you be right now if you could be anywhere? And I started thinking about it. I said, right here, right where I am. That's where I'd be, because I'm thankful in the present moment. God has me right where he wants me to be.
Awesome. I love it. Well, at the Real Brights is where you can find Sheri and Richard and all of their social media. That is their tag. And their book is called Once Again. Your marriage can get better. Really, your marriage can get better. I love it. So go to the text and text the Brights at the number again. It is.
Text Bright to 66866.
66866.
That's it. So super simple.
66866. You got that. Well, thank you for joining us, and join us back here. We are going to continue to resume season 2, Laugh Your Past Off, where we will have amazing comedians from all over the country sharing what they have done in order to make their mess a miracle and go from sorrow to laughter, pity to party, you name it. And we want to give God all the glory, because you know what? We are all in this together, and we are here to encourage, equip, and strengthen you to be all that you are created to be. So thanks for joining us. Join us next time on Live with Tricia. God bless you. Thanks, Brights. Love you so much.
Thank you, Tricia.
Mwah. This is awesome. Bye-bye.
Wasn't that a great episode of Live with Tricia? Be sure now to follow, share, and please leave a comment on our social media platforms using the handle Live with Tricia. You can make more seasons and episodes possible. Become a cheerful giver. Experience the joy of giving back at any level by linking to livewithtricia.com/partners. Let us know how this is impacting you in your daily walk. Have a question or suggestion? Drop us a line. info@livewithtricia.com. Join us next week for another amazing episode of Live with Tricia, where together we learn to laugh our past off. Because after all, laughter truly is the best medicine. So go ahead and over-medicate yourself with it today. I'm Misty Jordan. God bless.